Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K YouTube Live. And I'm just going to do like a little moment of yay. I think this is working. I'm hoping that it is out here on YouTube. So it's been kind of a while. I'm not really sure what happened. I know I did an update with the YouTube app, and then all of a sudden I couldn't go live on YouTube for like 2 weeks. And I didn't do anything, and all of a sudden now I can. So hey, I am happy. Again, I'm not really sure what happened, and I apologize for not being able to go live like I normally do, but we're here and happy today that everything seems to be working, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and yay. So I have some fun new stuff to show you. So I'm excited about this new stamp set bundle from Stampin' Up, which is coming in the next mini catalog, which is the January to June 2021 mini catalog. And it's a beautiful, beautiful whole suite of products, actually. And I'm going to show you everything in just a second that's in the suite. But before I get to that, I don't know if you all saw it on my blog. I just posted the giant year-end, hey Pam, yay, you're here and everything is good to go. So I'm happy. I'm finally back live out on YouTube again. So there's the giant year-end closeout sale from Stampin' Up! That is coming. They have a huge list of retiring products from the mini catalog, and it's like 7 pages long. And a bunch of them are discounted, anywhere between 10 and 50% off, starting on December 8th. So get your lists ready. Go over and check out my blog post, stampwithamyk.com. There's one that's got all the details about the sale, as well as a link to this sheet that you can either open up and look at or print out or whatever. It's a downloadable sheet that I've got out on my blog. So go take a look at that and get your list ready for next week, Tuesday. So yay. Hey, Jeannie and Rosie, I'm glad y'all are here. Glad you found me. Glad things are working today. So, all right, so back to the suite. The Friends Are Like Seashells is the name of the stamp set, and it is a beautiful, beautiful stamp set. There are some obviously seashell images. There's the sand dollar, starfish, kind of the coral type images. And then these that sort of look like globs actually line up with the stamped images, so you can kind of color them with ink if you would like to do that. So this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stamp set. And again, it's larger than it looks here in on the front. This is only 75% of the size. So you'll see the stamped images are actually pretty good sized in this one. And then there's an awesome set of dies that coordinates with this. So this is one big die, and it actually cuts out the whole card front basically. So that's how I got this background image on here, is I actually cut it out of the paper and then stamped on it. And so that is one of the dies in the set. And then there is a die that coordinates with the sand dollar, a couple of the shells, and then some of the kind of corally looking images as well, and the starfish too. So it's a great set bundled together. Hey Sheila, yes, need to get the set. It's yes, that is all I can say. So it is amazing. Then we have the Seaside or Seashells 3D embossing folder. I'll show you in just a minute how awesomely these work together, but hopefully you can see it when I tilt it a little bit here. When you do the die cut and stamp the images, then you can layer your embossing folder right over the top of it and emboss the images. And that's what gives it this sort of 3D look to the shells. Hopefully you can see it as I kind of move it around a little bit in the light, but it's very cool. This one is like totally awesome. So, hey Kirsty, thanks for hopping in today. All right, so again, I'll show you how this all works together in just a second once I actually get to working on it. Next up in the suite, we have the Opal Rounds, which I'll hold these up and try to hold them sort of still here, and hopefully you'll be able to see them. They're sort of pearly looking, and they've got some glitter in them, so they're shiny and pearly all together, if that makes sense. So these are very pretty, and again, in that same product suite, and they coordinate with this whole set of products. Next up, there are they are called Seaside Shells, you know, very easily named. And there are some pretty stickers. It's actually, this one is obviously a seashell. This is a seashell. And then we've got the little sand dollars. And again, I'm sure this doesn't show up very well on the screen, so I'm going to try to move it around just a little bit. These are kind of pearlized looking. They're very fancy. So definitely some good things in that suite. And then next up, there's also some designer series paper, which we're going to use a little bit of the paper on the project today. This is the Sand and Sea designer series paper. Let me read off the colors in it because they're very pretty. It's Blushing Bride, Flirty Flamingo, Melon Mambo, Sahara Sand, Seaside Spray, and So Saffron are the colors in it. So this is one of the sheets, and then I will flip it over here, and it's just kind of polka dotty on the back, again in the same colors. And next up, this is the next one, and I don't know if I should turn it this way, so hopefully you can see it, all of the colors across the whole spectrum here. So this one, it's sort of that, it's watercolory look, and sort of almost like they used salt on it or something. So I think this was actually created by a Stampin' Up! Artist, and they just photographed it. And then the opposite side is the Blushing Bride. Oh, good. I'm glad you're here, Karen. And yes, oh, it's amazing. This is an awesome suite. This is like my favorite one in the whole catalog. Hi, Patricia. So this is, again, just got your kind of seaside images in it. And then, again, this is one that's another one of the watercolor look papers. Very pretty. I love the pinks and the yellows together. And then on the back side, it's got the awesome sand dollars. Again, in kind of Blushing Bride and Flirty Flamingo are the colors that I see when I look at this, and obviously white as well. So very, very pretty. And then here's another one that's sort of that salted watercolor look, again with the shades of pinks and yellows in it. I agree, Pam. It's a really good one. The back side of the sheet has all of the little starfish in it, and it's So Saffron for your basic color on that one. Which again, I know the colors don't always show up great in the video. This one is your Seaside Spray, and again, just a watercolor look. To me, again, it's got kind of that look that they used the salt on it as well. And little sea urchins on the back side. And this, again, the colors to me, this one looks like Flirty Flamingo, Sahara Sand, probably Blushing Bride, and then Seaside Spray, I think, are the colors of those. Again, that's what it looks like when I'm looking at it here. And then this sheet I love, so pretty with all the different images. Again, they coordinate with the stamped images. They're a little smaller, so I don't think the dies are going to work together on it. At least, yeah, I'm pretty sure they won't. So the images are a little bit smaller in here. Maybe some of the little shells might, but I think that might be all. And then the backside, you've just got the sort of sand look. Again, Sahara Sand is what I think the color is on that one. So that is the pretty designer series paper, and I'm going to set this up and out of the way so that hopefully it doesn't all tumble onto the floor as I'm working on things. And then the final piece of the suite, and I'm sure this isn't showing you nearly how pretty it is on film, but this is the pearlescent specialty paper, and it's pearly looking. And we're going to use it on today's project, and I'll show you a couple things with it, but it's absolutely beautiful. I love it, love it, love it. And it's a little thicker. It's not, yeah, I don't know even how to describe it. It's kind of pearl feeling. I don't know. It's kind of a, it feels shiny, if that makes sense. But it's a very, very pretty paper. And again, like I said, we'll be using it on the project today. So I think that's all for the suite. Again, it's a very, very pretty suite of products. One other thing that I did use on this is I did die cut with the Tasteful Labels dies. I used this die in particular to cut out the sentiment on the card front. But otherwise, it was all the products, the new products from the Friends Are Like Seashells, the whole Seaside product suite that we have coming up in the next catalog. It is an awesome suite, Donna, and if you haven't ordered it yet, you need to. Hey, Barbara. I'm sorry. I know it's confusing. I finally was able to get YouTube to work today, so I figured I would run with it since hopefully, you know, I was happy to be out here. So, all right, so let's get going on the project. I have got a Seaside Spray card base cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. And then, oh, yours comes on Tuesday, Christy. You are going to love it. It's awesome. And then I've got a piece of the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper that I have cut to, it's a little different than my normal size card fronts that I do just because I wanted it to fit a little bit better underneath the die cut. So this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it covers almost the whole card front, but not quite. There's a little bit of a border around the edge of it. And I've got some Stampin' Seal here that I'm going to hopefully use to adhere the designer paper to the card front. Hopefully y'all are enjoying your Friday. Weekend is almost upon us. That's always a good thing. It's been kind of a quiet one here, which is good. It was cold this morning. Thankfully, the rain kind of waited, so it didn't turn into snow. But there was some talk of snow that possibly this weekend here. So, hey, Lisa, I'm glad you're able to catch me live. So, all right, so got the background paper on here. I did do the die cutting ahead of time. Again, this is that pearlescent paper, and I used the Seaside Seashell dies. That's a lot of C's all in one. So that is what the name of the die set is that coordinates with the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set, which Friends Are Like Seashells is a lot easier for me to say. So, all right, so I'm going to do a little bit of stamping on this. I'm going to start with Blushing Bride for the big shell, and I'm sure that somebody can tell you exactly what type of shells these all are. I cannot. I just know they're pretty seashells, and so that's what I'm going with. And again, Blushing Bride ink for the first one here. And it doesn't need to be perfectly lined up, but you want to get it generally lined up on your die cut. And then you're going to stamp down. And again, because this paper is a little slippery, you definitely want to go straight down and straight back up with it. All right, so let me set that one aside. And then I've got the little shell here that I also did in Blushing Bride. So before I put the ink away, I'm going to turn this and stamp the little shell. And again, straight down, straight back up. Next up, we have got So Saffron. And I use that one for the other large shell on here. Thanks, Cynthia. It's actually, I kind of stole a little bit of the idea from a card that's in the new catalog, so you'll definitely recognize it when you see it. So, hey Karen, sorry you went over to Facebook too. I know, like I said, I finally was able to get YouTube to start working today. Actually, yesterday it started working for me. I have no idea why it stopped working, and I don't know why it started working again, but it's here, and I'm here, and I'm happy that you all are here. So, all right, the other little seashell I'm also going to do in So Saffron ink, and I'm going to turn it and go down here to the bottom. And then the final shell we're going to do in Sahara Sand ink. Hey, Kathy, sorry about that. Yeah, I know it's, yes, it's, yeah, like I said, I put it out on my blog this morning, and I also had posted it on Facebook, so was hoping that most of you would catch it and see it, but it looks like some of you did and some of you didn't, so sorry about that. So. All right, so we've got that stamped here as well. And the last thing I'm going to do on this, well, technically second last, is I'm going to take my dark soft sea foam Stampin' Blends marker, and I'm going to do a little quick coloring. This doesn't need to be anything that's done extremely neatly, because again, a lot of it, you're not going to see a whole lot of, no blending, no shading, no nothing. I just wanted it to not be white. And that was really, or just the pearl color. So I was just trying to get a little bit of green on it, so that it wasn't just the plain pearly look to it. So just gonna, again, just quickly putting a little bit of color from the dark soft sea foam Stampin' Blends marker over the die cut, kind of the edges of it where it's the little kind of coral and seaweedy. I don't know if seaweed's the right term for it, but seaweed is what I know it, what I call it. So, so just wanted a little bit of color on those pieces of the die cut. And then we're going to use the heat tool on the level 1 setting to dry the ink a little bit. This pearlescent paper, that is one thing that I did learn with playing with it, is that it does take a minute or 10 to dry. So the blends markers dry pretty quickly on it. The regular ink, it takes a little bit of extra time for it to dry, unless you do like I'm going to do and take your heat tool and sort of hurry it up a little bit. So, so that's the one little tip that I have when you're using it. It's just if you want it to dry a little faster and want to be able to get your card done a little quicker, then definitely just use your heat tool, and that works pretty well. All right. Yeah, the pearlized paper is really pretty, so it's definitely something different. So on my heat tool, there's a level 1 setting for drying ink and a level 2 setting for heat embossing. So I've got it set on the level 1 setting, and I'm just going to take it and we're going to run it here, hold it over here for a second, and try to get the ink to dry up just a little bit. And I did find that even after I thought the ink was totally dry, that it had left some ink inside my embossing folder, which isn't bad. All I had to do was, wipe it out, so it wasn't like it made a huge mess or anything. But I was just surprised to see it because I thought I had it pretty well dried when I was embossing it, and I found out that, in fact, I did not. So again, just know that it takes an extra minute or 10 to get these to dry up just a little bit, so that you hopefully won't smear them when you go to do your embossing. So, all right. I think we're going to call that good on the drying. And then I'm going to bring in my embossing folder. Again, this is the Seashells 3D embossing folder. And as you can see, this is the raised side. This is the depressed side on it. Depressed, is that the right word? I don't know. Negative side, maybe. I don't know if negative or depressed is a better way to talk about it. But then all that you do is you basically just put your image that you've got stamped into the embossing folder, and you line up the images, the die cut images, with the edges of your embossing, or the edges of the kind of images here in your embossing folder. And the easiest way to do it for me was to line up the seaweed looking images, if that makes sense, because they're kind of out on the edges, and you know that if you have all of those lined up, your seashells in here, in theory, should be lined up. Now, it depends. This one I got a little crookedy with my stamping, but sometimes that happens. And I actually did it on this one too, so I don't know why. Apparently I have an issue with that one. But once it gets all embossed, I don't feel like you can really tell if you're a little bit off with it. Now, if I turned it and stamped it like that, you'd be able to tell. But when you're a little bit off in here, particularly when you're layering a sentiment over the middle of it, nobody's going to see it anyway. So, all right, so we got this, and I'm going to run it through the die cutting machine over here. Try not to wiggle the table too much. I realized I had my little table set up against my big table, so it probably was banging it. Sorry if it was. All right, so the big reveal, we take it out of the embossing folder, and I always want to just go, ta-da! Hopefully you can see how pretty that is. I mean, it's just, to me, oh, I love it. So definitely a good suite of products. So yes, it's a lot of fun to play with. So, and this was kind of my first one out of the gate. I wanted to give this a whirl and see how it went. And I figured if it was a total disaster, I'd choose something else, but it's actually really easy. The hardest part to me was just the stamping and trying to make sure that you kind of get that lined up. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect because, as you can see, once you get it all done and put through the embossing folder, nobody's really going to be able to tell anyway. So it's all good. All right, putting a little bit of liquid glue here and there, trying to make sure that I stick it onto the card front somewhat well. Gonna go play with yours as soon as you're done. Oh yes, you'll be glad you ordered it. It's really pretty. All right, so I've got my card front here. I'm gonna flip this over onto the card front, and this is a really big die cut. So that much I'll warn you that just take a second before you set it down and press everything down for good to make sure it's all on the card front, because it goes kind of right up to the edges, particularly on the top and the bottom. Trying to make sure hopefully none of the ink is still wet enough to get all over my fingers. That's my other concern with it. When you press down on it, is if this is wet at all, then I'll get yellow ink all over everything. But so far so good. I think I'm okay. So that's the majority of the card front, is basically just that die cut. So yes, whoever designed this is really awesome, and whoever it is, yeah, I would buy more of their stuff, whoever designed it. So, all right, so I've got a little bit of linen thread. I'm gonna just snip off a piece here, wrapped it around the entire card front twice, and then I'm gonna tie a little bow off to the side, hopefully, if I don't make a big mess of it. All right, let me scooch this just a hair over here to make sure I'm out of the way of my sentiment, and loop up the bow. All right, so the hard part's done. Hopefully I don't mess up the sentiment now that I say that, because that's usually what I do is I'm like, oh, the rest is really easy, and then, yeah. But like I said, in general, it's a very, very easy set to use and really, really pretty. I mean, I love that all you have to do is cut, stamp, and emboss, and you're like, whoo! So it's very, very pretty. So, all right, I have got Seaside Spray ink, and one of the sentiments from the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp sets. And I'm just going to stamp it here on a little bit of Whisper White cardstock. And we're going to do a little die cutting. Whoop. There we go. Let go. Do a little die cutting here with this. And then we're basically done with the card front. So again, I'm using the dies that are the Tasteful Labels dies. And I'm just going to put it right around the sentiment, run it through my die cutting machine over to my right here. And hopefully not bang it on the table again this time. Hey, Mary. Thanks for hopping in. Glad you're here today. Right. Okay, got the die cut all done. Set the dies aside so that I hopefully don't lose them. And then I'm going to do a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of this. And I'm kind of being a little careful with the placement of them. I've got my dimensionals cut in half because, you know, that's my thing, is the half dimensionals. I can't help myself. So I've got them cut in half, and I'm kind of putting them out to the edges because I've got the twine in the middle. If I stick a dimensional on the top of the twine, it's not the end of the world, but it kind of gives it a little bit of a strange lump underneath the sentiment that I don't necessarily want to have. So I try to keep the dimensionals out to the edges and put the twine on top of this. And there we go. Last thing that I'm going to add on the card front is one of the Opal Rounds. And I'm just going to take that and stick it right over here on top of the seashell, right up here next to my sentiment and by the bow. And I may trim up these just a little bit because they're a little bit longer than what they probably need to be. Hopefully I won't cut them too short so they spring up, but all right. So I think we're good on that. Then we just have the inside of the card left to go, and we will be all done with this. All right, sentiment again is from the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it in Seaside Spray ink on a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Hey Jerry, oh, just got here. It's a beautiful suite of products. So if you want to see everything in the suite, once I get done, go back and take a look at the beginning of the video because I showed all the stuff from the suite, and it's really awesome. You're definitely going to want it all. So. And then we're going to stamp a couple of the seashells down the side. So I've got Sahara Sand ink here for my little shell. I think I'm going to turn this one maybe like that. And then we're going to do So Saffron for the second one. And that's going to be my kind of longer shell here. And I think we'll go ahead and put that one maybe we'll go upward like this with that one. I think I stamped them totally differently on the inside of my other card, but that's okay. As long as they're on there, that's all good. So, and then Blushing Bride for the final one. And again, it's the larger of the shell images. I'm going to take that and stamp it kind of down here along the bottom of it. All right. And even just those shell images stamped by themselves are beautiful, I think. So, and then when you add in the embossing and the pearlescent paper and everything, it's just like, so pretty. So, all right. I'm going to use a little Stampin' Seal to adhere this to the inside of the card. And we'll be all done for today. So, thanks so much for everybody hopping in today and coming and finding me. So I apologize for all the confusion. I will, again, unless YouTube gives me troubles, I will plan to continue with my YouTube lives on Friday again, since they finally let me go live again. Going to do a little quick crease with the bone folder, and we're going to be all done. So, all right, so here's my card I made ahead of time. Here's my sample card. Hopefully you can see kind of the shimmery pearl paper on the background. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If I keep my hands out of the way, that is. So, so glad that you liked it, Donna, and thanks for hopping in today, and I appreciate y'all being here. Have a fantastic rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. I will plan to be live out on Facebook on Tuesday around 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And then back here with my fingers crossed that YouTube will be good to go for next week, Friday, around 2 o'clock Eastern time. So again, thanks to everybody who hopped out here and found me today. I appreciate you being here, and have a great weekend. We will chat soon. Oh, one other thing, I guess I forgot to say, all of the details for this card are going to be posted on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com. And I'll also link up the blog post once it goes live in this video, so you'll be able to find the details on the card should you want to go take a peek at it. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great weekend.